Welcome to JAK Sports. This is the show where we talk about the biggest stories in sports, and today we're going to talk about Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott, if you're a fan of the NFL, you know that he can perform at a very high level on the field. Off the field though, the guy can't perform that well. He's got himself into a couple of hot situations and he's currently in a legal battle with the NFL and he might be facing a 6-game suspension. It's getting pretty confusing as to what's going on, so what we're going to do today is we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to figure out how we got to where we are, what's going on right now, and what we can expect going forward with the Ezekiel Elliott suspension. On July 22nd, 2016, Ezekiel Elliott's ex-girlfriend Tiffany Thompson filed a police report saying that her ex-boyfriend Ezekiel Elliott assaulted her. In the police report, it said that she was sitting in the driver's seat of her parked car and that is where Ezekiel Elliott assaulted her. And it should be noted that in the initial police report, police noted that she had a red mark and a sore wrist and nothing else. The police report also stated that the two had lived together for a 3-month span and he had hit her not just on the night of July 22nd, but also for a 5-day span from July 17th to July 22nd. Now this went relatively unreported until shortly after Thompson took to Instagram and posted pictures of multiple bruises all over her body and accused Ezekiel Elliott of assaulting her. Of course, Ezekiel Elliott denied those claims. He said he'd never hit her. The bruises that she had received were from a bar fight she got into earlier that night and that the two had never even lived together. He did admit to co-signing a lease on a car and paying some rent for her. And now naturally the police were investigating, but so was the NFL. And later on the NFL's investigation found through eyewitnesses that the fight that Thompson got into was pretty much just hair pulling, so would not have resulted in the injuries that she posted onto her Instagram. But remember, like I said, in the initial police report, all police noted was the fact that she had a red mark and claimed to have a sore wrist and no bruises were involved in the initial report. A little over a month later, now this isn't exactly in line with the domestic abuse, but Ezekiel Elliott was with the Dallas Cowboys playing a preseason football game in Seattle, and during their trip to Seattle, Elliott was photographed in a marijuana dispensary. Now marijuana is completely legal in the state of Washington, but it is a banned substance from the NFL. Now, Elliott wasn't smoking it, he wasn't buying it, he was just in the store, and the NFL didn't really like that. Ezekiel Elliott commented saying in hindsight, probably not a good idea, he just wanted to check it out and see what it was. September 6th, 2016, a little over a month after the first report of the assault, police have decided not to charge Ezekiel Elliott. This is as a result of inconsistent and conflicting evidence. And as I said earlier, she reported that Elliott assaulted her while she sat in the park seat of her car. Police interviewed 4 eyewitnesses who all claimed to have never seen that. And one of the eyewitnesses was in the car with Thompson at the reported time of the assault. So the police, as a result of this, decided not to charge Ezekiel Elliott. When they did this, they released a press release. I will link to that in the description down below if you want to read the entire thing. Around the time that authorities announced Elliott would not be charged, it surfaced that back in February 2016, Thompson had called 911 to report a domestic assault against Elliott once again. So what this means is that the incident in July of 2016 was not the first time. Now what happened was the couple was down in Florida and Zeke was preparing for the 2016 NFL draft. Apparently he made a social media post that Thompson didn't like and the two got into an argument over it. It resulted in Zeke telling Thompson to go back to Ohio and leave Florida, and she got mad at him for that and he tried to lock himself in a bathroom and he claims that he just pushed her out of the way to get into the bathroom. Police came to the scene. They said there was no visual sign of injury. Thompson declined any medical attention and everything just carried on as normal. This flew under the radar, was not reported. Zeke kept preparing for the draft and eventually was drafted by the Cowboys, and then fast forward to July, we have the second incident of domestic abuse reported. Now, despite authorities not charging Ezekiel Elliott, saying the evidence was inconclusive and inconsistent, the NFL carried on its investigation and they didn't interview Elliott about the incident until October 2016, over 2 months after the original incident. Now after his interview with the NFL, Elliott was good off the field for the rest of the season, no crazy off-field incidents to report. That's until March 13th, 2017, St. Patrick's Day. During a St. Patrick's Day parade, video surfaced of Ezekiel Elliott grabbing a woman's shirt and pulling it down, exposing her breasts. She covered up and ran away. Not the best look for Elliott in this one, especially when he's still being investigated by the NFL for domestic abuse. June 1st, 2017, phone records and other documents are finally turned over to the NFL. This 10 months after the initial incident and 9 months after police and authorities concluded their investigation. A month and a half after documents and phone records are turned over on July 16th, the NFL is continuing its investigation of Ezekiel Elliott. And Ezekiel Elliott gets into another off-field incident. Now it's reported that at Clutch nightclub in Dallas, Ezekiel Elliott was in the middle of a bar fight. And now no video has been released of the fight. Clutch Nightclub did not release any of its footage. However, there is a video on YouTube of the victim of the fight on the ground in pain after the fight. I will link to that in the description down below. The man assaulted said that he could not remember who had attacked him, but witnesses said that Ezekiel Elliott was in the middle of the incident. And this is supported by a Twitter user, MaxP23, saying, "I saw Ezekiel Elliott lay a guy out at Clutch." That being the nightclub they were at. Dallas police told ESPN's Adam Schefter that no charges were laid and there was no suspects in this case. Jump to August 11th, 2017. Ezekiel Elliott is handed a 6-game suspension from the NFL as a result of breaking its personal conduct policy. This was a decision that the NFL did after its nearly year-long investigation on an incident that had occurred over a year prior. If you would like to read the NFL personal conduct policy, the reasoning for Elliott's suspension, I will link to it in the description down below and you can read for yourself. 5 days after Elliott is handed the suspension, he appeals the decision. The NFLPA represents Elliott in this. Essentially what this means is Elliott is asking for the case to go to a higher power for a retrial, essentially to try and reverse the ruling. So what happens here is the case is given to an arbitrator, and the arbitrator is a third-party individual who will re-examine the case and make a decision based on the evidence provided that is binding to both parties, that being Ezekiel Elliott and the NFLPA and the NFL. This is not in the courts yet. This is still outside of the courts, and this is not within the NFL, but it's the arbitrator is able to be named by the NFL, and the NFL named Harold Henderson as the arbitrator in this case. Around the same time that Zeke is filing for his appeal and the case goes into arbitration, it comes out that Tiffany Thompson, Ezekiel Elliott's ex-girlfriend from the domestic abuse case, had a discussion with her friend about potentially blackmailing Zeke by saying she's going to release sex tapes she has of the two of them to the general public unless he pays her. The conversation that she had with her friend was a text conversation, and it goes along the line of this. Thompson goes, "What if I sold mine and Ezekiel's sex tapes?" And her friend goes, "We'd all be millionaires." I don't know where the friend comes in with the sex tape. She wasn't involved in it. She wasn't selling it. But she or he, I'm not actually sure, is a millionaire too in this situation. Let's do it. I want to, bro. Let's do it. That's pretty much how the conversation went. She never did release the sex tapes, but I will link in the description down below to the full text conversation. Now, during the NFL's investigation, they discovered that Thompson had made an email account called Ezekiel Elliott Sex Vids, and that she admitted to having videos of the two of them having sex on her phone. Now, she denied saying that Ezekiel Elliott Sex Vids was not made with the intent to blackmail Ezekiel Elliott, that she just made Ezekiel Elliott Sex Vids for fun. On August 22nd, 2017, Ezekiel Elliott is caught partying on a yacht. And now, nothing illegal happened here. The Coast Guard even searched this party for 20 minutes and found nothing illegal going on. People were still not happy with Elliott for this because he had just said recently in the news that he was going to start maturing and improving off the field, and now he's caught partying on a yacht when he should be preparing for the season. So technically nothing illegal here, but not the greatest look for Elliott. Between August 29th, 2017 and August 31st, 2017, Harold Henderson heals the appeal of Ezekiel Elliott in the case against his 6-game suspension from the NFL. The day after Zeke's appeal hearings finished on August 1st, so September 1st, the NFL was sued by the NFLPA on behalf of Ezekiel Elliott. And although Thompson had not made his final decision yet, the NFLPA was essentially suing here to block the NFL's decision to have Zeke suspended for 6 games. The NFLPA was suing on the grounds that the appeal process was fundamentally unfair as the arbitrator, Harold Henderson, denied on multiple occasions Ezekiel Elliott's lawyers for having Tiffany Thompson, Elliott's ex-girlfriend and the accuser at this time, testify. At the same time as suing the NFL, Ezekiel Elliott also filed for a restraining order against the NFL, and what this would do is it would essentially postpone the suspension. It is not a long-term solution. It doesn't make it go away forever, but if approved, it would block the NFL from implementing his suspension before his full lawsuit would go through, and it would be wiped away forever. 4 days later, on September 5th, 2017, the NFL countersues Ezekiel Elliott, and this is essentially just the NFL's play to uphold the suspension as opposed to being wiped away by Elliott. On the same day, Harold Henderson also found that Ezekiel Elliott should be punished and his 6-game suspension stands. However, this decision came too late, so it wouldn't begin until week 2 of the NFL season, allowing Elliott to play in week 1, and he would serve a suspension through week 2 until the end of week 7. On September 8th, 2017, Ezekiel Elliott and the NFLPA are awarded a preliminary injunction. So essentially what this means is it's a decision prior to the final ruling. What this does is it restrains a party from going ahead of court. So although the courts have not yet made their official decision on the Ezekiel Elliott case, this denies the NFL from moving ahead with the suspension. So as the time of this occurs, Ezekiel Elliott will not have to serve his suspension right away. So that means he's eligible to play for week 1, week 2, and onward until a final decision has been reached. This is awarded on the grounds that Elliott did not receive a fundamentally fair hearing from the arbitrator. 2 days after receiving his preliminary injunction, Ezekiel Elliott plays in week 1 of the NFL season and rushes for over 100 yards in a Dallas Cowboys victory. The day after Elliott's first game, this past Monday, the NFL appealed the decision to award Elliott with a preliminary injunction. So essentially, the preliminary injunction blocks the NFL suspension, but what the NFL tried to do is they're trying to block Elliott's block of their suspension. What started as an alleged sexual assault over a year ago that was deemed a non-charge due to inconclusive evidence by authorities has led to a nearly year-long investigation by the NFL, a 6-game suspension, and now we find ourselves in a crazy back and forth in court. A quick summary of what happened. Ezekiel Elliott was accused of domestic violence back in July. The authorities looked into it and they said that this was a non-charge. They were unable to find conclusive evidence to charge Elliott. The NFL decided to press on. They did its own investigation for almost a year. They found evidence the authorities did not find, and then they handed Elliott a 6-game suspension. Elliott did not like that. He wanted it to be a retry through an arbitrator, so that's what they did. They handed it to a third party, and Elliott did not think that they were going to win with the third party arbitrator, so they went to the courts, and they went to block the arbitrator's decision before he even made it. The arbitrator made his decision. He said Elliott will still serve the 6-game suspension, but then Elliott's filing with the courts went through, so it blocked the arbitrator's decision allowing him to play, but then the NFL filed to block Elliott's block of the suspension. Where do I land on this? Do I think that Ezekiel Elliott is guilty of domestic abuse? From everything I've seen, no, I don't think he is. I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott's side in this for multiple reasons. First one being, Thompson's injuries in the initial police report do not line up with the picture she posted on Instagram accusing Elliott of the domestic assault. Additionally, out of the 4 witnesses that the authorities interviewed, one of them being inside the car where the reported abuse happened, all of them claim that this did not happen. Another reason is the fact that she was willing to release his sex tapes to the general public. That's just a pretty shady thing to do. This shows there that she was willing to leverage Ezekiel Elliott's celebrity status for her own personal gain. And now I know that domestic abuse does not in any way, shape, or form lead to personal gain for herself. But however, if you go down the description and you find the link on her text conversation about releasing the sex tape, you'll see that, at least as far as we know, when she first talks about releasing the sex tape to the public, money is not discussed. It's not on the table at the time. She's just talking about releasing the sex tape. So in that situation, she doesn't have personal gain either. She's just doing this to negatively affect the image of Ezekiel Elliott. And now I'm not saying that this is exactly what she's doing here if she's telling the truth. But if she's lying, all she's doing is similar to releasing the sex tape. She's negatively affecting Ezekiel Elliott. Another big reason I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott's side on this is the authorities did as well. They did not find enough evidence to charge Ezekiel Elliott. I would like to make one thing very, very clear. I in no way, shape, or form condone domestic violence in any way. And if it does come out that Ezekiel Elliott was at fault here and he is guilty, we are going to have a very, very different conversation. However, at the time being, with the information I've been able to find, I'm taking Ezekiel Elliott's side in this debate, this conversation. And however, me being on Ezekiel Elliott's side in this does not mean I'm on his side with everything. Some of the other off-field incidents he's gotten into, I don't exactly agree with. If we look at the examples of the other off-field incidents Elliott got into, the pot shop, doesn't bother me. He didn't do anything illegal. It's illegal to own and operate and sell marijuana in the state of Washington. But as I said, Elliott was just photographed inside the marijuana dispensary. He was not photographed smoking it. He was not photographed buying it. And I know marijuana is considered an illegal substance in the NFL, but he wasn't using it either. So he doesn't really harm anyone. He's not breaking any rules here. So that one, I'm okay with. Pulling the girl's shirt down during the St. Patrick's Day parade, I don't like it. I don't care how drunk he was. I don't care where they were. I don't care if he knew the girl. That's not okay. And I, as I said, don't like it. Now with the potential fight at the bar in Dallas, yeah, I have to say Elliot's probably guilty in that situation because we don't have any evidence really pointing to Elliot other than the tweets and witnesses. The bar didn't release any camera footage. The man assaulted could not remember who he was, or sorry, not who he was, who assaulted him. But we have to remember this happened in Dallas. The Dallas night club bar did not release footage. The man from Dallas did not remember. Could you imagine being the person in Dallas responsible for the Dallas Cowboys losing their star running back? I don't think anyone wants to take that risk. I don't think anyone wants to take that heat. So I think they didn't release the footage and he couldn't remember. With the yacht party, I'm on the fence. The guy's 22, he's allowed to go party. They weren't doing anything illegal. As I said, the boat was searched by the Coast Guard and they found nothing illegal, but the guy should be preparing for the NFL season, not partying. However, as I said, he's 22, probably more than capable to play absolutely hungover and still perform at an extremely high level, but again, should be taking better care of his body, especially being so close to the NFL season. So yeah, I'm on the fence with this one. That is my opinion of everything that Ezekiel Elliott has got himself into off the field. But an important thing to note is, although that's what I think, in the eyes of the NFL, it's all negative. They don't like any of it. Do I agree with the NFL's decision to suspend Zeke for 6 games? No. As I said, I don't think Zeke's guilty. The authorities don't think he's guilty. So I'm not 100% sure what the NFL was able to find that was so convincing that they could prove Ezekiel Elliott was guilty. But as I said, all these other list of incidents that he's gotten into, the NFL doesn't like either. So although maybe they weren't able to find something that 100% proves Elliott is guilty of the domestic assault, they are probably doing this as a very hard slap on the wrist to Elliott for all the other off-field incidents he's gotten himself into. This is essentially a warning to him, saying that he better smarten up off the field. Again, I don't really agree with it. It's just become a big distraction. We're in the courts now, over a year removed from the incident, and new lawsuits and appeals are still popping up. And it doesn't look that good in the NFL right now because, as I said, it doesn't look like Zeke did it, but the NFL is still pursuing him to punish him for the domestic abuse incident. But that might not be the only reason. It might be these other incidents, but they're positioning it as a domestic abuse, but it doesn't look like he did it. So it just doesn't look that great on the NFL right now. Where are we going with this in the future? That's still unclear as to what's going to happen. It does look like Zeke's going to play week 2. The block of suspension will hold up and he will be eligible to play. Will he be suspended this year? I don't know. It's going to depend on the courts and what plays out. The NFL seems to think that they're still going to suspend him for 6 games at some point this year, but that remains to be seen, and I guess we'll just have to follow along and see what happens. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this was able to clear up and explain this Ezekiel Elliott situation to some degree. If I missed anything in this video, please let me know in the comment section down below. Also, let me know what you think. Do you think Zeke is guilty or is he not? Is the NFL in the right or the wrong here? I'm really interested to know your opinion and anything you think of this whole situation. Please let me know. I'll respond to any of your comments, any of your DMs. Make sure you also like, share, and subscribe this video. Make sure you follow us on social media. You can like our Facebook page at JAK Sports. You can follow us on Twitter at JAK_sports. You can follow on Instagram at JAK Sport with no S on the end. Thank you once again for tuning in. As I said earlier, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. That means a ton to me. I really hope you like this video. And if there's anything you want me to cover next time, make sure you let me know in the comment section down below.